If you've watched a popular movie or TV show lately, you may have seen a character that's a psychopath. Whether it's Patrick Bateman, played by Christian Bale in American Psycho, or Hannibal Lecter in Hannibal, psychopaths can be found all throughout media. However, did you know that many of these depictions of on-screen psychopaths are actually inaccurate? In movies or TV shows, psychopaths are often presented as cold, emotionless people who exhibit extreme behavior. But in real life, it can be much harder to spot a psychopath because they can often appear quite normal. Today on How to Charisma, we're going to take a look at the 10 signs that someone is secretly a psychopath. Number 1, they're a great liar. Psychopaths are not only frequent liars, but they're good at it. The reason for this is that a psychopath's autonomic nervous system, or the part of the body that controls an adrenaline release in response to stress, doesn't function properly. When a typical person lies, their autonomic nervous system releases adrenaline, which in turn causes a physical response, such as a heart rate increase or a rise in blood pressure. This makes it possible to detect when the person is lying because their face might blush, or you'll notice that they're just acting differently. A psychopath, on the other hand, has no autonomic nervous response when they lie. This allows them to be perfectly calm when they're being deceptive, making it hard to catch and decipher whether they're telling the truth or not. They're such great liars that their lies don't even show up on a polygraph. Number 2, they behaved badly as a child. Unlike sociopaths, who develop as a result of trauma or environmental events, psychopaths are born, not made. From birth, psychopaths lack empathy and the ability to learn what's right from what's wrong. The result is that many psychopaths exhibit bad behavior early on in childhood and find themselves getting into trouble in school or at home. They might do anything from bullying others in school to talking back to authority figures, or even hurting animals or others for quote-unquote fun. Furthermore, a psychopathic child will often show little guilt for their behavior. A child who's a psychopath is also often unaffected by punishment for their behavior. While a typical child might stop themselves from making fun of another kid at school because they know they'll get in trouble, the possibility of punishment does little to deter a psychopathic kid. This is because psychopaths show abnormalities in the brain regions that deal with moral reasoning, embarrassment, and shame, meaning they are not impacted by negative reinforcements. Number 3, they're charming. When you think of a psychopath, you might think of a person who's a cold, ruthless serial killer. Yet, this is not always the case. In fact, some psychopaths present as incredibly charming. A study from the State University of New York at Binghamton found a positive correlation between psychopathy and charisma, meaning that those with more psychopathic traits also tended to be more charming. However, this charm is typically not genuine because psychopaths lack empathy and the ability to relate with others. Instead of using their charisma to make others feel good, they develop their charm in order to use it in deceptive ways. While a psychopath might come across as confident, fun, and nice, this is only done in order to achieve some greater goal of theirs, such as to exploit or manipulate others. And once they've achieved that goal, a psychopath will often switch off their charm and charisma and reveal their true colors. Number 4, they lack guilt, and regret doesn't affect them. Studies have shown that psychopaths have a diminished ability to feel guilt compared to the average person. This is most likely due to the fact that the areas of the brain associated with empathy and concern for others don't connect to the areas of the brain associated with decision-making. Because they lack the care for others that a typical person does, they don't feel the guilt that the average person feels when they do something unethical or immoral. But while psychopaths don't feel guilt, they do feel regret, or the ability to look back on an action and feel like they should have done something differently. However, regret does not impact the choices of a psychopath. A recent study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that while psychopaths are capable of feeling regret, they'll go ahead and make poor decisions anyway. This is because psychopaths lack the ability to anticipate feeling regret before making a bad decision. The lack of this critical skill means that psychopaths continue making bad decisions over and over again. Number 5, they don't have serious relationships. As we mentioned earlier, psychopaths have the ability to be incredibly charming and charismatic. However, this is only a tool to get what they want. While they might appear kind and fun to someone at first, once they've exploited or manipulated that person, their behavior changes. In fact, a psychopath only sees relationships in terms of how they can benefit themselves. This means that psychopaths rarely have long-term relationships, whether friendships or romantic relationships. A psychopath often has a big network of acquaintances or connections, but only because they believe that those people are useful to them in some way. And because of their lack of empathy and ability to form true connections, psychopaths see people as objects to be used, and that's it. Number 6, they gaslight. You're overreacting. It was just a joke. I never said that. If you've ever heard any of these phrases, there's a chance you've experienced gaslighting. Gaslighting is a way in which someone manipulates another person by making them question themselves. For instance, if someone said something abusive to you and then later denied saying it or told you you were remembering the details incorrectly, this would be an example of gaslighting. Psychopaths are masters at gaslighting, and this is one of their primary tactics they use to manipulate and lie to others. This enables them to maintain control over people by forcing them to doubt themselves and always spinning the narrative in a way that supports them. Number 7, they're in a leadership position. According to Business Insider, as many as 1 out of every 5 corporate bosses display psychopathic traits. The reason for this is that psychopathic traits can actually get people ahead, at least in the short term. Psychopaths can be charming, super focused on a specific goal, and ruthless in the pursuit of that goal. All traits that help them get ahead and climb the corporate ladder. However, psychopaths tend to be in the leadership positions in very specific fields. They're often not in areas that require empathy, such as nursing or therapy, but more so in areas like sales, laws, or politics. Number 8, they give off a great first impression that feels too good to be true. A 2018 study from Rogers et al. Found that while psychopaths think they are able to make good first impressions, often this is inaccurate. For instance, psychopaths often try to present as charming and charismatic when first meeting someone in order to lure them in. And while on the surface they may appear likable, the study found that the average person often has the ability to see through the psychopath's act, even if they're not able to pinpoint exactly what's off about them. So, if someone you know is a people pleaser and appears friendly on the surface, but have a gut feeling that there's more going on, there's a chance they could have psychopathic traits. Number 9, they're violent. While not all psychopaths are violent, they are more prone to aggressive behavior than other individuals. This may be why up to a third of murderers are psychopaths, despite only making up about 1% of the population. There are several reasons why psychopaths might be more violent. A study in the journal Current Topics in Behavioral Neurosciences discussed how irregularities in areas of the brain that regulate self-control and threat circuitry may contribute to more aggression. Another reason could be that because a psychopath lacks guilt, empathy, and the ability to be affected by regret, they may be more violent. A final reason is that psychopaths are often willing to do whatever it takes to reach a goal, even if that involves violence. For instance, if a psychopath knew that they needed to physically harm someone to achieve a certain goal, they would go ahead with their plan regardless. A typical person, on the other hand, would likely look at other options to figure out how they can still reach their goal without hurting anyone. Number 10, they lack normal emotional responses. Pop culture often depicts psychopaths as ruthless, cold, and devoid of any emotions. However, this is incorrect, as psychopaths can in fact feel emotions like happiness, surprise, anger, and disgust. Where a psychopath differs from the average person, however, is in their inability to be affected by other emotions like anxiety, sadness, and fear. Because there's often a disconnect between the emotions a psychopath feels and the actions they take. For instance, a psychopath might feel fear, but have difficulty detecting danger or threats. This means that even if an experience made them afraid, this fear wouldn't be enough to inhibit their actions. Let us know in the comments if we missed anything. While you're there, let us know what topics you'd like covered next. As always, thanks for watching How to Charisma. Don't forget to like and subscribe.